Hey everyone, welcome to the Player Coach Podcast. So now we have a new segment where I'll be bringing some of the best hockey minds to really talk hockey, talk some development styles, and much more. Really, the key here is to bring some more perspective so that you can increase and improve your decision making on and off the ice. Today, we're fortunate enough to have David Cunniff of the Worcester Railers head coach, who has over 18 years of coaching experience working with coast players, AHL players, and NHL players. Thanks for coming out on the podcast, David.
No, of course. Thanks for having me, Babs.
So, how about you tell everyone your background from coaching, and then we'll dive into it.
Well, I was lucky enough to start off I was hired by San Jose, the Sharks, to go to Cleveland and coach in the American League as an assistant coach with Roy Sommer. Thought it was a great opportunity. So I had a young family at the time. My wife and I picked up and moved to Cleveland. So I coached out there for 4 years. The organization moved their American League team to Worcester, Mass, where I am now. And it was perfect because it kind of brought me home to Boston. So being in Cleveland for 4 years, my wife and kids were ready to kind of get back to be around their family and cousins and all that. So it worked out really well. And then San Jose, their American League team was moving out west to San Jose. So I took a job in Albany with the Devils and was excited to kind of show the Devils organization kind of what I do. Unfortunately, Lou left, went to Toronto, so I ended up going to Minnesota. I did 4 years in Minnesota and Iowa and their American League team. Worked with some great coaches out there. And then my last year in the American League was with Hartford, the year before, like last year, basically. Last year, I started off in Hartford. I thought it was a really good situation. I didn't really know anyone in the organization, but was excited to work with John Davidson, Jeff Gordon, and Chris Drury was our GM. I was, and then even the coaching staff, Chris Knobloch, Gordon Murphy, both those guys were just in Philly for a few years, and Chris had been there for 2 years, coaching the D and the forward. So I thought it was a great situation because the Rangers, they were really trying to change the way they develop players down at the American League level, and they were trying to more homegrown players. So I thought it was in a great situation, but a couple of months into that season, had an opportunity to be a head coach and GM in Worcester. So it brought me a little bit closer to home, but my big thing was having an opportunity to be a head coach. I hadn't really had that opportunity, behind Roy Sommer. Roy's been the head coach of their American League team in San Jose for like 24 years now. So he didn't really move anywhere. So I didn't really have the luck to prove myself that I could win as the head coach in the American League. So I took a step down to the East Coast League, and now as the head coach GM, was excited about building my team and really showing people I can win as a head coach. So unfortunately for us, the COVID happened and we didn't get that opportunity to play this year, but it's just prolonged. I'm looking forward and going to use this time to try to get better and put the team together so we can win a championship or compete for a championship.
It's really unfortunate. No, I was looking forward to playing with you and really getting out there and getting out to the East Coast, really. And again, we can't do anything about it. It's part of, again, I'm sure everyone's tired of talking about COVID. It's just like something that's lingering on. But again, like that's quite the resume. The stuff that you've done, and we've talked extensively about the players that you've worked with, the coaching tactics and the philosophies. It's really just unbelievable. And that's why I wanted you to be the first guy to get out here, because again, you have a lot of knowledge to share, and I'm really happy that you're able to be here. So the big first thing I want to talk about is, again, first night of hockey, a lot of opportunity, a lot of things to talk about. From your point of view, what is something that you really saw that was changing, some of the things that you're seeing that are really where hockey's moving towards?
Well, the biggest thing is I was just so excited that the game was coming back and we were able to watch hockey. NHL was coming back, was really thrilled. But some of it's great to watch games and you just get reinforced some of the things that you like, maybe you don't like, or like you can watch any coach or any team and you can find pluses and minuses. No matter the best coaches in the world, there's going to be breakdowns, there's going to be errors. So so that you can't really, I'm not by talking hockey, I'm trying not to,
Yeah.
people would watch my team play and point out a million things too. So I'm not picking on anyone, but the one direction I think the game is going in is really with the offensive movement. There's so much movement in the offensive zone. People are staying off the wall. The D are active. I just really think that that's not really going anywhere, and it's going to be a bit of a hybrid going forward with the D being active and jumping in and forwards filling in for them. So I think working with NHL teams and being affiliated with NHL teams, I think a big thing is working on skating backwards for forwards. I think that I've been doing that when I was with San Jose. We spent a lot of time. I did all the power skate. Well, I did a lot of the power skating with the Sharks in my 12 years there in the skill development, and ran the development camps in the summers, and doing the skating. We made sure that the forwards did it, because with the D pinching down the walls and getting active, the forwards would fill in as F3, and they had to defend a lot skating backwards. So we had to teach them the rules, defending the rush versus even man situations, odd man situations, trying to get them using the red line and the defensive blue line, talking tracking rules and things like that. So, just so they felt comfortable, right? That was the number one thing, is giving the forwards the confidence enough to be comfortable doing it.
Well, yeah, and that's something, again, I can attest to playing now. Like, you're seeing more D pinching in, more systems are like, okay, how do we get these D active? But if the D are active, that means the forward's gonna have to be sitting back. And I remember our first game this season, I was talking with my line mate, and the turnover happened. He was like, oh crap, I got to skate backwards. He was in panic mode, and thankfully nothing happened to him, but he was like, oh my God, it's skating. I remember there's a picture of it, of him skating backwards, and it looked really cool to pick, but it was like, he was like, man, I was panicking. I was like, what is going on? And it's something that forwards are just not comfortable with.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, I mean, that's why in developing and working with guys, that's what you're trying to do, is give them the confidence that they could be in any situation and be okay. People don't realize, obviously with the D movement and the D diving down and the D, forward D exchanges and things like that, that's, happens quite a bit. But anytime the D pinches down, like if it's rimmed around the weak side and the weak side D pinches down to keep a play alive, you always have F3 that gets above, but they don't talk about it enough that you need two forwards above the puck anytime the D goes down, right? Because you need F3 to fill in for the D, but now someone has to fill in for the F3. So anytime the D get active or down the half wall, you need two guys actually above the puck, two forwards above the puck, not just one.
Well, yeah, no,
That's something
makes
that,
a lot
like,
of sense. Well, yeah, it's like something you're
people
not
don't talk about it.
So,
Yeah, people don't talk about that enough, and you give up odd man situations off it. So it's important that, you always, when I'm coaching, I always very mindful of telling the forwards that anytime the D's down, you need two guys above the puck, for that F3.
well, yeah, and would you say that like Tampa Bay is really the team that's heading that type of mindset of having those five players in the ozone? I want to say forwards or D, but just hybrids cycling in and out. That clip of the point goal seems to be the big thing that's being spread out, of everyone talking about that goal and how the forwards are diving down, no one's standing in front of the net. Would you say that's an accurate point there, or is there other teams that you see they're doing something similar?
Yeah, I think Tampa's they're ahead of the curve a little bit. I think Chicago, back in the day, Chicago was very active when Quenneville was there. Colorado, Jared Bednar does a great job getting the D active. Obviously, they built their team. Their whole organization is built for speed and built with their D moving. I coached with Derek Lalonde for in Iowa for 2 years and worked with him very closely. So, we talked about that a lot in Iowa, the 3 high or 4 high, causing confusion with that. So these are the things that Derek and I spent a lot of time with, that I'm sure Derek took with him to Tampa. Not that, Coop and those guys didn't know it, when you have that skill level, you would obviously try and play puck possession game and try and get the movement and staying off the wall. The tighter you get offensively as a forward, the tighter you get to the wall, the D can get physical and squash you. Where if you stay off the wall, a lot of times forwards feel comfortable on the wall, so they have that support to go up against it. But you're inviting a hit, so you're inviting the guy to come and get physical. Where if you get off the wall, ideally and keep your feet moving, it's a lot tougher to defend, and you're not going to get hit as often.
Well, yeah, and that's how again you see all these the top forwards that do it. They're doing that consistently. They're able to create, and that's essentially creating time and space. The wall is comfortable, but if you get off that wall, now you've got more space. You have options to get out. Whereas, like you said, D are like that's a trigger. Let's pinch down. Let's crash them because they don't have many options.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're inviting the physicality where like Datsuk, he would stay off the wall. Everyone wants to crush him, and he would use that push to spin off them and penetrate. With the way with all the movement in the offensive zone now, more teams are going to a man-on-man defensive zone structure. And now you penetrate, you beat one guy, and it's a big time breakdown. You're looking at a scoring chance. So the movement also causes some gray area, right? When the puck's down in the corner and it's behind the goal line or at the goal line, it's easy. We know the strong side D's coming or the centerman's coming. When you start rolling up the half wall, does the winger pinch down on you? Does he defend the dot lane? I know we've talked about different things like that, zone coverages and things like that. But it becomes more of a gray area. And then also your passing angles change. Mario, I used to watch Lemieux, and Mario was the best at it. He was so big and strong, he would get the tripod going, keep his body between the puck and the defender, and just constantly be moving. And his passing angles were constantly changing. Things would open up so he can move the puck.
Well, yeah, a lot of the Quebec natives will be like very happy that you're talking about Lemieux. They were
talking Mario.
Yeah, they're saying he's the best player of all time. That's debatable, but well, again, he was very good at doing that, and so that's something again for players. Any offensive player, again, you have possession. Let's stay off the wall. Let's take a couple of steps off there. Get your feet moving because it's going to create time and space, like you said. And the Datsuk's, he was so like you looked at him off the ice. You just looked frail. But when he was on the ice, you're like, man, no one can move him off the puck. And it seemed like he was using guys' momentum against them. And it makes so much sense when you're talking about how he's off that wall and he's able to create so many options off of it.
Yeah, I remember working with Pav, Joe Pavelski when it was with San Jose, and he went up to the NHL and he was getting squashed, because we teach puck protection a lot. And, different people have different assets. And Joe Thornton is a guy that could, get the tripod going with his, get a wide base, get a stick down and protect the puck and stop over the puck, because no one's going to really knock him over. Yager is another guy, although they, ideally you want to keep the movement going. But if Pav turned and defended the puck like that, being smaller and lighter, he'd get squashed by these NHL defenders. So we constantly worked on just moving just a little bit, using the push against them, spinning tight, not spinning and getting away so much where the defender can get back on the defensive side, but spinning tight to the guy so there's no air and the defender can't get back on the defensive side to defend you. So these are the things that, I've been doing for a long time. You're talking, close to 20 years or 15 years with the forwards, and, watching video and watching Datsuk, you steal these things from watching the best players in the world. Crosby now, with his tight turns and staying off the wall. People try and mimic it, and they do their tight turns, but the possession is outside, and the plays on the outside on the perimeter all the time. When the difference is when Sid's doing it, he's doing it to try and penetrate. Once he has a step on someone, he's trying to get inside and attack in the net. Where other people do the tight turns and they're spinning, but nothing's really happening.
They're just burning energy. They're essentially just
they're killing the clock. Depending on the time and the score, it's you're killing the clock. It's all about getting the puck to the crease, get numbers at the net. You watched the goals last night and the number of goals that are scored in home plate, and it's right around the net. It's not really going anywhere. And when the playoffs come, it's even more so. So you got to be constantly morphing and trying to develop that as a team, because you can win and have success and make the playoffs, but then be out in the first round because you develop, you build your team as a perimeter team and a shooting team. Even if you have the most skill in the world, eventually you're not going to get it done in the playoffs.
And Tampa's the best example of that. They really tweaked their style of play, a more like again grittier game. Added that to their skill set, and again you see the results. That's over a 3-year period, and it's a great to see that happen. But it's great that you talked about Crosby because again, it's so true. You get players that get stuck on the perimeter, and you see this all the time. Even like with our games, you're going players just stay to the outsides because it's easier, or they'll just do a bunch of cutbacks and the D are just standing there. You need to penetrate that red zone. I call it the red zone again, everyone home plate. It's
Yeah.
You have to have that penetration, really show a threat before you do that cutback. Otherwise, it's just too easy to defend.
Yeah, it has to, like I always say to guys, it has to be done with a purpose. That's the biggest thing is you're doing these things for a purpose, and that the purpose is to score goals and to beat people. You're not doing it just to stay, putt possession. My putt possession, the numbers are through the roof on Instat or whatever, program we use to look at that stuff. But I'm not generating anything because I'm not shooting, I'm not passing, if I don't get into home plate or get inside the dots, nothing's really as good as going to happen. And you got to constantly be striving to make those plays inside the dots. And when I'm looking for players, that's what I'm looking for. The guys that can make plays in small areas and tight areas, those are the guys that are going to have success. The guys that can play in that bumper spot on the power play. There's different guys that I've watched that they make so many small plays inside the dots. And like that to me is special. 5-on-5 scoring is tough to do. The guys that score points are power play guys, and because you can create odd situations and it's comfortable. But show me a guy that can also, I obviously I love the power play and love the guys that can make plays on that. Don't get me wrong, but 5-on-5, the guys that can make those tight plays in small areas too. It's just so tough to do. I have so much respect for the guys that can.
Well, yeah, and the players that can do that are the ones that, again, long term, they're going to be the most valuable players because power plays sometimes are almost out of your control. Like they'll come and go. The 5-on-5, if you can sustain good offense through there, consistent offense, and be a threat, like you're going to be a very valuable player for any team. So,
oh, big time, yeah. And it might not be fancy, and you might not notice it a whole lot, but eventually you. Again, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for guys that are involved in plays, and eventually, people will see you making those plays consistently. I'm like, man, this guy's involved in every play, whether he's supportive inside the dots or he's making a play inside the dots.
So we talked a lot about offense. I want to talk about the defense end. We talked about this before. And again, the Oilers, I wrote a blog about Draisaitl, McDavid. Their defensive awareness stats are like in the tank for the last 4 years. It's been tough to watch. And again, last night I said, like, I'm not against them. I said they need to evolve their game. Kind of like Steve Yzerman had to evolve his game with the Red Wings back in the day to really drop down a couple points. Kucherov did the exact same thing. And again, allowed a more of a team structure game. And last night just showed an indication that evolution isn't there just yet. And just how about you give me your thoughts on what you thought about it? Because I can go on forever about these two. So.
Yeah, I just think that they have so much pressure on them, right? They know they're the face of the franchise. They know they probably feel like they have to score every game, never mind every shift. So there's a lot of pressure on scorers that way. And, it comes down to just getting the support, and they need the depth, and they just don't have it right now. Edmonton, they don't have enough depth that they can consistently play the right way and get their points. If you're watching those highlights from last night, the goals they're giving up, they probably feel like, all right, we're going to give up 6 goals, so we have to try and score 7 or 8. I mean, the breakdowns were pretty elementary. The first goal against you have a guy tracking on the puck from the offensive blue line to the defensive blue line. The D slides over. I think it was Larson slides over. He should have been checking his weak side and getting his information, and he should have never went on that. I mean, that's simple tracking rules, and I know Dave Tippett's a great coach, and he's a great defensive coach. Every coach, everywhere he's played, their goaltenders have won, been up for Vezinas, and there's a reason for it. You look at what is it, Bob there, and he was whatever in different goalie. You look at it in Phoenix and the Russian Buffalo. Yeah, he's up for it. And then he goes to Philly and he struggles. I mean, it's because it's structure. And he will get there. It's just tough. You know, he took over last year and with all the COVID and the no development camps, and I'm sure it's been a real challenge for him to get the defensive structure in. But these are simple tracking rules that should be in play. Simple, when the wingers are defending and coming back into home plate, just stop points, just stopping and not going for a loop. The third goal they gave up, someone went for a big loop and giving up all that white ice and home plate. Just, I see that white ice and I cringe.
Yeah, no, I saw that because I remember seeing it and I thought it was just like off the rush. I was more the first goal and the fourth goal kind of were the ones that were boggling me, but watching
the fourth goal. So when you're looking at that stuff, right, all the players on Edmonton, they're hoping for the best. So they're taking these chances and they hope the play goes their way instead of assuming the worst. They should assume that the play isn't going to go the right way. And if they do that, they'll be in good position defensively, but also offensive. They'll turn that defense into offense. And you hear that talked about all the time. But you do that by assuming the worst, because you'll be supportive and you'll be led up. Where all those guys are hoping the puck gets chipped out and they're hoping it goes the offensive way. But unfortunately, when it doesn't, it ends up in your net. Like the fourth goal, like you were talking about, Dreisaitl's cheating up ice. But also the D is sniffing. They just attracted to that puck. They're just getting sucked into the puck. The weak side D is looking to jump, but he should sense there's really nothing going on. The strong side D, when the play goes up the wall, he doesn't have to follow that puck. He should start working back inside the dots, defending the middle of the ice, assuming things are going to go bad. If it comes back down the wall, he'll always win the race back to that puck. Or if he doesn't, at least he's defending from inside out.
Yeah, and that's like where I like to talk about it when I talk to players. I try to illustrate it as like probability over possibility. Is it possible that Draisaitl could have got out and hooked that puck out skating backwards? Of course it's possible, but very unlikely. That you want to play the probability, get back, protect the house, stop on the puck, be on the defensive side. Because again, now you can attack as a 5-man unit when I talk about it. But again, when you're seeing that, especially on day one, and I know it's just one game. I know some people are going to be like, Baps, like, cool it, like it's just one game. But it's like, it's not just one game. This is something that's been happening consistently. And so unfortunately, I just don't know if it's going to change. And like you mentioned, something I didn't think about too is the pressure they're under. They're under a lot of pressure. It's a lot of stress over there. So I just don't.
Yeah, those guys know they have to score, right? Like they know they have to score every night to win hockey games. I mean, everyone talks about the secondary scoring, which is fine, but it's a race to 3, right? In the NHL, the average scores are 3 goals, so it's a race to 3. Who's going to get to 3 first? But unfortunately, when you cheat offense, the game you fall behind. Now it's 1-0 bad guys. You have to play again. It's like it's tough to be patient and wait for it, and just what happens is when you get down, guys start cheating even more, and it ends up being a blowout. Whereas the coaching staff, and you have to be constantly be aware of, hey, stay with it, stay patient. We know how to do this. We know we can score. Eventually good things are going to happen. And again, there's so much, you get a lot of your offense from the defense. And I mean, people talk about it's a puck possession game. Sure, it's a puck possession game when you have possession. But it's not a puck possession game if you don't have possession. It's a transition game. That's what it is.
Yeah.
The game's constantly going to be changed. The puck is constantly going to be changing from offense to defense. The teams that transition best from offense to defense and defense to offense, those are the teams that are going to have success.
And that's something that doesn't get talked about. I know Belfry in his book, I saw some snippets talking about transition, but like that's something that just doesn't it almost gets overlooked. Like I think things like transitioning, timing, all these things get overlooked just for. And I do talk about puck possession as well, but these are key components of puck possession and the game to getting puck possession back. You need to establish a good transition game.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. When I have the puck or my team has the puck, I want to play a possession game. I want the puck all night long. Yeah. I just know it's hockey. It doesn't go that way. So I know at some point we're going to lose the puck. But the biggest thing is understanding that understanding you don't have it, and then trying to get it back as quick as you can so you can go on offense.
Well, I'm glad we got to talk about the offensive and defensive sides. There's some different concepts. I kind of, again, with time here, I want to talk about the development side of things. And I like to get coaches' development philosophies. Now, everyone has several, but for everyone else, I'd like you to just share maybe one or two philosophies that you've used over the last 18 years, or something that's consistently come up that you found very useful, that either maybe individuals or coaches could use to, again, really amplify their games, like something that worked for you.
Yeah, I think playing on the inside. I think playing, like I talked about offensively, playing with the puck and learning how to protect the puck. I don't think that is focused on enough. I mean, believe me, I work on skills. I work on hands. I'm a skills coach. I feel like I spend a lot of time on my hands or on players' hands and learning how to handle the puck and stick handle. But I always say, I don't want you to use it often. If you can create 2-on-1s and give and go, it's a lot easier to give and go and get the puck back from a guy than beat someone 1-on-1. So, so I think like the way I teach puck protection offensively and then defending. I don't. It's amazing to me. College level guys, pro level guys, the struggle they have with defending. And again, there's some simple things that we do with stick details and skating details. So, you're asking one of the biggest developments I think is probably the skating techniques. I use a lot of skating techniques, studying football, and I study other sports and kind of look what they do. And you look at D-backs in football and they're trying to constantly work on their footwork not to cross over. So I do different things for defense and forwards, because forwards end up defending too, right? Whether it's the first guy back or a winger. A lot of times wingers are going to be the first guy back. And again, I'm always working on worst case scenario, right? So I want my weakest guy to be able to defend in game 7 and overtime. And, so you're trying to teach these guys defensive skating techniques so they don't cross over a lot, but the footwork shows up in everything. Whether I'm one time in a puck, knowing my edges and being able to pop and be able to drop my knee or cross over to approach the puck to be able to shoot that puck. I think my skating techniques that I teach is very important. And I think that's something that you guys have had success learning and taking with them along the way.
So again, like listening to that, it's great stuff. So I think the principle really from there, would you agree, is prepare for the worst, like really train yourself, whether as your coach, train for the worst case scenarios. And as a player, we really have to find those worst case scenarios and fill those holes and be able to develop those parts of our game that sometimes, we get caught up on the hands or the stick handling or just shooting a puck, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I tell you, your footwork, and hopefully if you have someone that can help you, like I know coaching is, I'm a big believer, and I might be biased because I'm a coach, but finding the right coach and having someone be able to give you some information, like that's, it's almost like, I always say, it's almost like as a player, you have to assume you're not going to get any coaching ever.
Yeah.
And you have to become a student of the game yourself, and you have to learn, geez, why did I have success in that play? Why didn't I have success in this play? So you can coach yourself. If you're lucky enough to get some coaching, I mean, all the power to you, but you're the CEO of your own company. You have to take responsibility yourself, and you have to kind of, look at, I spent hours and hours and hours watching video of guys and seeing why they've had success and why they haven't, and that's what I've taken, watching hundreds of hours of Lindstrom and Datsuk and different players around the league and seeing why Lindstrom can, be so hard to play against without being physical. It's amazing. His stick detail, his footwork, his hockey strength. I mean, the strength of his stick was really top notch. And when people go in the gym and they do these workouts, but they're not hockey strong, they're weight room strong. So there's a balance you have to hopefully find, listening to Babs Hockey and checking into Cunniff hockey. Hopefully we could lead you to the water and then up you to drink it.
Perfect. Well, yeah, I'm going to make sure you plug that in so that everyone knows that. So, like leading into the end, the last segment I have for the podcast is trying to get your definition of hockey IQ. And so, again, I have a definition. Everyone has their own definition. So, I'm curious to hear how would you define hockey IQ and say one or two sentences? What would be your core definition, and how would you measure it essentially when watching clips?
I think hockey sense is making the right play depending on the time, the score, and the situation of the game. So, I had a defenseman once that came from another organization and he raced the puck up the ice. We're winning 1-0. We're trying to make the playoffs. We're winning 1-0. He got the puck in the D zone. He races the puck all the way up the ice. He goes behind the other team's net. He throws it to the front. And we give up a 2-on-1 going the other way. So if he scores on that situation, is it a good play? To me, no.
Yeah.
Because all that hard work, like even if we scored, what you're giving up with the time and the score, you're winning 1-0. You don't have to win the game. We're already winning. You don't have to take that chance. So with the time and the score in that game, I would recommend playing the puck, being smart, because all that, the hard work of that whole first period will be out the window. You go into the period 1-1. I mean, there's 20 seconds left. It's just insane. So depending on the time, the score, and the situation, it's making the right play at that time.
We could talk about again too. Like someone was talking about the dry settlements, having a conversation about that play, and I talked about the time because I remember you mentioning that, and I was like, I get trying to create offense and cheat for offense, but it's 16 minutes to go in the third period. You're down 3-2. Why not trust the process? Like, why?
You have to. That's it. That's what I'm saying. Like, Draisaitl, again, he feels that pressure that has to score the goal, so he cheats on that. Where instead of understanding, and maybe with some exhibition games, they would come back in one or two of those games, and they would get that confidence, and they would feel more comfortable in the process. But you have to trust the process, and it's up to the coaching staff to instill that, number one, that there is a process. And you have to convince the guys to be confident in the process and understand that eventually we'll get this. And I'm sure Tip will eventually. He's a great coach. I've admired him and spoken to him. He's I'm sure with some added players and some more depth, he'll be able to get that group together.
Well, yeah, no, that's a great definition. And again, I know the Oilers seem coming up, but hopefully the Oilers figure it out. Like I said, they have the coaching staff to do it. So I
tell you, man, like watching last night, some of it, to me, it's funny with the NHL now with the salary cap. You have to develop at the NHL level, where before it had, a lot of the development happened at the American League level. Would send a guy up, and if he couldn't get it done, they'd just send him right back down. But now with the salary cap, you have some to balance off you have some entry level guys to keep the salaries evened off. So at the NHL level, you're developing a lot more than you used to. So, So, but again, the mistakes that they make in a hockey 101, which is unfortunately,
and they're consistent mistakes. So that's why. But yeah, no, that's a good way to end it. That's a great point there, especially with having to develop more at the NHL level. It's not just at the AHL level. Again, I really think having you out here, again, it was super insightful. I always learn something new every time we talk. Just before we close this out, how about you tell everyone how they could contact you? I know you got some video analysis that you work with. You have Cunniff Hockey. And so just give a little plug here for everyone else so they can reach out to you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Cunniff Hockey, and I have a website, CunniffHockey.net. I had a CunniffHockey.com and lost my .com ran out, and someone bought it and they're trying to sell it back to me. So CunniffHockey.net. Come check out the website. Check out the website and see what we're all about. Yeah. I enjoy coaching. I enjoy helping guys get better. That's always been my reward. I've always I've been lucky enough to hopefully help people fulfill their dreams, and I've been lucky enough to do it for a living in the last 20 years. So I'm blessed. I thank God every day.
Well, it's amazing that we had you out here. It's been great, just like being able to talk to you further. And I'm thankful that I got to meet you earlier in the summer and we got set up. I know the season didn't get to work out, but again, we have next year, and we'll slowly build this up. We'll have to have you back out here, back on the podcast again. But again, I just want to say thank you, and for everyone else, make sure to check out Cunniff Hockey on Twitter. Cunniffhockey.net, not com. And
Yeah, yeah.
we'll see you guys next time. Hope you found this insightful, and make sure to leave comments on what you thought of the podcast. Have a good one, everyone.
Thanks, Babs.